Welcome back to Buckeye Country Creations. If you're new here, I'm so glad you stopped by. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Today we're going to go on a trip through the countryside of the hills of Missouri. And we're going to stop at a few flea markets and then make the trip back home. And then we're going to make a delicious homemade meal. So sit back, relax, and come along with us. And get in that car. The beautiful colors of fall are just starting to come into full view. The trees are changing into their shades of yellow and orange and red and brown, and the leaves are falling to the ground. The trees and the countryside was absolutely beautiful on our ride. Blowing in your hair. We can look back some. The first flea market we just happened upon as we were driving down Highway 60, and I actually turned around and went back. The first thing that caught my eye were these apple dishes because I have 2 of them in my kitchen currently. And I was really surprised that there were so many different pieces that a person could purchase. And so we just went through and found a numerous amount of treasures like these salesman samples. Hey, darling, you know we're gonna have a really good time. Driving in the middle of the night when the stars are bright. Pack our bags and get in that car. And of course this oil lamp caught my eye. Leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. And I remember these vases because my mother had multiples of these, but she never used them for vases though. She just collected them. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. And I could not get this secretary desk to open. Get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count. And I spy even more oil lamps, but they were a little bit out of my budget. But they were still beautiful. So let's peruse on through here and see what more treasures we can find.
Train just left this town while I'm slowly heading back to my apartment.
In this next item, I'm not sure if this was a wedding cake topper or what, but it was still cool nonetheless.
Out loud in the darkness.
And I have been looking for one of these grease containers, and I would have purchased it if it had had the strainer with it. My granny had one of these, and I've been really wanting one. Maybe I'll eventually find one with the strainer in it.
From here there's nowhere to go. Someone said your heart is golden. All I got was my heart.
And here's another one of the wine decanters, or I would use it for water beside my bed. It's only the second one of these I've ever seen. And then this beautiful ruby plate. I'm still not quite sure if that's actually metal embedded or if it's just paint, but it's still pretty. here are those cute poodle salt and pepper shakers, $3 for the set. Not bad at all.
Times will come again when the wind is blowing in.
And here is a vintage bread box that would be really cool in someone's kitchen. I probably would have purchased it if it had closed completely, but I couldn't get it to close. And here's another one of those record storage cabinets. So very cool.
I lost you from the start. Someone said your heart is golden. All I got was my heart broken. I can see the dawn.
When I saw these dishes, I immediately thought of my friend Jennifer. She would have really liked this set of dishes because she likes the Southwestern style.
Golden, all I got was my heart broken. I can see the dawn is coming.
And now it's time to get back on the road for the next adventure, to see if we can find another flea market on down the road and enjoy some more of this beautiful scenery. And then we found this beautiful spot. I could spend all day long right here beside this water, just listening to the babbling of the brook and these beautiful trees and the sun shining through the trees. It's just beautiful, and the camera does not do it justice. After spending several minutes at that spot, we decided it was time to move on and go on and try to find that next flea market. And as we're traveling along this road, we were just in awe of the colors, of the scenery and the beauty that was there. And then something wonderful happened. So make sure you're watching and watching closely. Did you see them? Did you see the two beautiful deer? God blessed us with letting us see two of his beautiful creatures that he has created. We were just excited and just in awe again that we were able to capture those deer crossing the road. And our next flea market that we found is called The Mill. And we actually passed it on the highway as well and had to turn around and go back. We have actually visited this antique vintage market in the past, but decided we needed to stop in again today. And the first thing I spotted were these old drawer pulls. They were very pretty. This is a vintage market or an antique market, so you can expect the prices to be a little higher than your normal flea market, but you're going to find things in here that you might not find elsewhere. So let's shop through here and see what treasures we can find. I love the way that these vendors set up their booths as if they were using the decor items in their own homes. It gives you an idea of how you might style the different pieces that you find. Both of the locations that we visited today are easily accessed off of Highway 60, which runs east and west in southern Missouri. So you just go up and get on 60 at Poplar Bluff and head east and you'll find these locations. You just have to make sure you're looking for them. I can't help but wonder how many young people would know who that person is on that picture and glass there. Miss Shirley Temple herself. My mom actually had the Shirley Temple picture when I was growing up. And look at that beautiful chest. So pretty. And I was so surprised to find these cookbooks. The bride's first cookbook from, I think it was 1955 or 1960. I thought, that's so neat. I've never seen one like a bride's very first cookbook, because a lot of brides were stay-at-home moms and you had to know how to cook. Or this Pennsylvania Dutch cookbook. Well, you know, there's some good recipes in that cookbook for sure. Found the mecca of homemade baskets. These baskets were beautiful, but I'm afraid they were a little out of my price range, but they're still beautiful. And I'm still on the hunt for that huge basket for my throws to go in my living room. I've still not found it yet. And there's just something about the light from a cool oil lamp that just makes a home seem so cozy. Even when the electricity is still on, it's still cozy. And look at this doll. You put pajamas in it? Wow, I've seen them but did not know that's what those were. That's so cool. That was a unique find for sure. Well, we decided it was time to end our day and head back home, as we were about 3 to 3.5 hours from home. So we decided to head home. But this drive on this video is not 3.5 hours, I assure you. But it's time to go home, get a good night's rest, and get up tomorrow morning. Good Sunday morning, my friends. Today we're going to bake a pot of beef stew. The husband's got breakfast going, started on the stove, plus he's in there editing. Hey y'all. So we got breakfast cooking. He's gonna cook breakfast while I get the stuff started for the stew. Then I'm gonna be making some cornbread to go with the stew, because cornbread just goes better with the stew. So let's get started. I'm going to start by clearing off some space on my countertop. I'm going to move this cake plate over onto the table so that I have a place to plug in my crock pot, because this vegetable beef soup will be cooked in the crock pot, because that way it could cook all day long. I can get it started this morning and not have to worry about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a crock pot liner in my crock pot. I'll tell you what, if you don't use these things when you cook in your crock pot, you are missing out. It makes cleanup so much easier. I love them. I don't cook without them unless I just absolutely run out, and I have not been to the store lately. Now I'm going to gather all of my ingredients, which are potatoes, carrots, baby carrots, an onion, some chicken stock. Yes, I use chicken stock in my beef stew because I really don't like beef stock. Some whole corn, and some beef stew seasoning. And of course, about 3 pounds of beef stew mix. And I'm going to start out by braising or browning my stew meat. I'm going to pull my skillet out, put a little bit of oil into my skillet, and then I'm going to prep my meat by putting it all in a bowl and taking some flour and covering my meat with flour so that it can brown. But I'm going to start by pouring my oil into my skillet and getting it warm, letting it heat up while I flour the meat. So I'm just going to dump all of my stew meat into a bowl. And then, like I said, I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons, just rough measured, of just flour. And I'm going to coat all of my meat in the flour. And then I will brown them in the skillet. Browning them and searing them helps keep the flavor of the meat in. And then I will go back after I brown my meat and put it over into the crock pot. I will go back and deglaze my pan. And then you'll see what I do with that later. Then I'm also going to go in and add a little bit of salt. We use the low sodium salt because my husband's on a low sodium diet. So we use the low sodium salt. And then I'm going to reach down and grab my black pepper and season my meat with the black pepper as well. And then it'll be ready to brown. And my husband's talking to me while I'm prepping the meat. He's in there editing his footage for his channel. So if you are not subscribed to him, make sure you check him out. If you like old cars and vintage cars, it's Dead Car Rescue. The @ Dead Car Rescue. Go check him out. So now I think my oil is hot enough, so I'm going to place my stew meat into the skillet, get them all in there, turn the heat up a little bit, and get this browned. Now our stew meat is all browned and seared, so we're going to dump it into the crock pot. Just dump it all over in the crock pot, get all that goodness. And now I'm going to go back over to the stove and I'm going to deglaze my pan by pouring a little bit of chicken stock. I'll start with a little bit, and I'm going to turn my heat back on and I'm going to deglaze that pan. And what I'm going to do is get all of that seared goodness off the bottom of the pan, all that seasoning and all that juices that came out of the meat. I'm deglazing my pan, and then when I get it all deglazed and get my spoon where it can run smoothly across the bottom of my skillet, then I'll know my pan is deglazed. And then I'm going to take that and pour it over that meat that I just placed into the crock pot. Now our pan is good and deglazed, and we're ready to move over here to the crock pot and pour all of this goodness back over that meat to help maintain the seasoning and the flavors of that meat. Because you don't want to pour that down the drain. That's just too much goodness. It's just too good to waste. Just too good. And it helps incorporate that flavor into your vegetables that you're going to add to the stew now. So I'm going to start by washing the outside of my potatoes, and I'll go through, and if there's a bad potato, I'll set it aside. But I'm going to wash the outside of my potatoes because I do not peel my potatoes, because the skin of the potatoes has a lot of vitamins in it, and so I don't peel my potatoes. And then I'm going to chop the potatoes and put them in with the stew, and then we'll go to the next vegetable. So I'm going to finish chopping up this final potato and get it in there with that meat. And then I'm going to move on to my baby carrots. We use baby carrots because I don't like to peel full-size carrots, and I really prefer fresh vegetables in lieu of canned vegetables. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to pick out the bad carrots, and then I'm going to rough chop these baby carrots because we want carrot pieces rather than whole baby carrots. But I'll get them cut up, and I will not use this whole bag. I'll use about half the bag. So I'm just going to go in here and, like I said, roughly chop them, get them in there, and then whatever's left I will put in a Ziploc bag and put back in the fridge for like a snack or something. Now we're going to move on to a yellow onion, and I use about half of a large yellow onion. I'm going to peel it, and then I'm going to do a pretty good, not a fine, not a diced chop, but I am going to chop my onion and get it in there as well. And by the time it cooks for about 6 to 8 hours, you won't even know there's onion in there other than the flavor and the smell that this is going to put through my house. I love the smell of vegetable beef soup cooking in a crock pot. It makes my house smell so good. And then when you put the cornbread on as well, man, I'm telling you what, your house smells so good. So we're going to get this onion in here and move on. So now we've got our potatoes, our carrots, and our onions. And so now I didn't have any fresh corn or any frozen corn, so I'm going to have to use canned corn, but that's okay. So I drained my corn, and I used 2 cans of corn, and then I'm going to go in now and add my beef stew seasoning packet. And then I will add about 2.5 cups of chicken broth and then a cup of water and stir it and get it cooking. I will also season this with some additional salt, the low sodium salt, and additional black pepper to amp up the seasoning in this stew. Now I have all of my ingredients in my crock pot. I got the meat, the vegetables, the seasoning, and the broth. So we're going to set this crock pot on low for 8 hours and let this thing cook and do its thing. And about 6 o'clock tonight, we'll be ready to eat. Time to check on the stew. It's got about 4 more hours to cook. It's about 2:30 here. Look how delicious that looks. We're going to give it a stir. Oh, it smells heavenly. Oh, it looks so good. Anyway, now we've stirred it. We're going to put the lid back on it. And by 6 o'clock tonight, we'll be ready for some beef stew and cornbread. Got my cornbread cooked. This is almost completely finished. Oh, it smells heavenly, you guys. The beef is so tender. The vegetables and the potatoes are tender. The hubby's out running the power washer, working on a car that he picked up. So I'm going to go get him and let him know that dinner is served. And we'll see what he thinks about it. Okay. It's truth time. I got my bowl, I got my ladle, and I got my spoon. Hubby's gonna wait because he wants to get the car washed before it gets dark. So I'm gonna ladle me up some of this delicious smelling beef stew. And man, I'm gonna tell you, does that not look delicious? It is hot. For sure. Definitely hot. But I think I need to trim my bangs, you guys. Let's see. Oh. It is so good. The beef is so tender you cut it with a spoon. It would have burned myself. So good. So good. And I'm gonna get me some of that cornbread right there and I'll be good to go. It's delicious. Go make you some. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And if you stayed to the end of the video, I appreciate it more than you ever know, because I could not have a channel without you guys. And it means so much to me that you guys support my channel and that I can consider you friends. So remember what I always say, make sure you take time to go out and make those memories with the ones you love. God bless you, and I hope you have a beautiful week and an even more beautiful weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless you.